Hello, everyone, and welcome to my very first sample library walkthrough. As I'm very pleased to announce that I've been given the opportunity to show you Sonuscore's brand new library called Lyrical Vocal Phrases. It's a truly wonderful solo vocal instrument featuring a very talented singer with a very beautiful voice called Connie Collett. And she's been featured in many high profile projects like The Elder Scrolls Online, Halo Legends, Mortal Kombat, Total War, and many more. And first and foremost, I would like to give very special thanks to the Sonuscore team for giving me the chance to review this new product of theirs. If you are not aware of their work yet, check them out at sonuscore.com. They've been around for quite some time now, and they've worked on many acclaimed and popular products like Action Strings, Action Strikes, Emotive Strings, of course, just to mention a few of them. And most recently, the orchestra, which has been receiving such a huge amount of attention from the composer community. So yeah, definitely check them out. They're really talented people. So what I've basically done for this walkthrough is I've written a demo, which I've already posted in my channel, and before going to talking about all the cool features of this library, I'm going to play the demo for you, and then we'll go a bit deeper into what lyrical vocal phrases really is, and of course the track itself, and what I was aiming at by doing it. So yeah, without further ado, let's take a listen. All right, I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to make, and basically what I did with this demo is what I usually do whenever I get a new library or a new synth or whatever. I I kind of try to take it to a different place than what would be immediately expected. You know, First and foremost, because it's a lot of fun to do personally, and also because it's a really good way to test the versatility of the instrument itself. Like, for instance, when you think of a library of this type and you look at an interface like this, the first thing that probably comes to your mind is fantasy, like orchestral fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Narnia, and all that stuff, which is great. But I basically try to step away from that and to create something more futuristic, with a bit of a sci-fi feel to it. And the image that I get in my head is kind of like if I'm, walking through a gloomy cyberpunk city, like in Blade Runner or the original Ghost in the Shell, and but it still retains a bit of a magic and an ethnic feel to it, which I wouldn't be able to achieve without the great quality and the diversity of the recordings in this library. It's truly wonderful stuff. And we're also going to analyze how I use how I use the library in this particular context, and we're going to analyze the structure of the demo. But for now, let's focus on showing you all the cool features in the lyrical vocal phrases. So as there are already quite a lot of solo vocal libraries available, you might be wondering what makes lyrical vocal phrases stand out from the competition, and what does this library have that can bring something new and fresh to your music. Well, as you can probably guess by the name of the instrument, this is not another legato-based solo vocal library. This is rather a collection of very expressive and beautifully performed phrases sang by a wonderful singer called Connie Collett, as I've mentioned in the very first part of this walkthrough. And the major advantage of a library of this type in comparison to a library that plays, sustained notes with legato transitions, is that it just sounds much more realistic and expressive, of course, and it captures the emotion of the singer in a very specific performance, and that's something you just can't get through programming and artificial legato techniques. It will always sound much more mechanical and soulless in comparison. But the question that probably pops up in your mind right now is, if I can program my own melodies, if I can only play pre-recorded phrases, isn't this instrument a bit too restrictive in regards to how I can use it? Well, not in this case, I would say. Not only because, as you can see here, we have a really big diversity of phrase types available. We have minor phrases, ethno-major phrases, Dorian phrases, Lydian phrases. We even have some spoken words and some bonus whispers, but also because Sonuscore has taken care of recording every phrase in 4 different keys, so that pitch shifting would only occur 1 semitone above or 1 semitone below. And what that basically means is that you can play every phrase in any key you want, and it will always sound realistic and natural. Now, for instance, I can play in A. I can play in D. F sharp. G. As you can see, I'm using these red keys, the ones that are more to the left of the keyboard, to trigger the tonalities. It always sounds great. Now, taking a closer look at the interface and how the instrument is organized, I really like the design. It's quite simple, but it's beautiful at the same time. And as you can see here, it gives you a menu with all of the different phrase types that you can select and deselect at your own will. And then every phrase type, after being selected, becomes assigned to a specific key in the higher range of the keyboard, so that you can switch between the phrase themes in real time, as I can show you now. I think this is really cool because a lot of libraries just give you a bunch of patches that you have to drag from the folder and load every time, and it honestly becomes a bit boring to do. And this kind of menu is, in my opinion, much more intuitive, and it actually speeds up the workflow. Since one of the main purposes of this library was to capture a free and very expressive performance from the singer, the phrases have been recorded without a tempo grid. But as you can see here, we have a speed parameter that we can adjust in real time. So you can tweak it in order to make the phrases fit the best way possible into your compositions, and you can change up to 25% of the original speed of the recording, while retaining a very natural and realistic sound. And now also taking a look into how the library actually works, and how it has been organized within the keyboard. As I've showed you previously, here in the left we have these red notes that will allow you to control the key in which the phrases are being played. And right after that, we have the notes that will trigger the actual phrases we're gonna play. And another really nice feature of this library is that instead of just having, a bunch of phrases being, randomly spread across the keyboard, here we have them separated into starting phrases, middle phrases, and end phrases. And that is really cool because it allows you to make your own combinations of melodies, and yet again that also adds to the amount of possibilities of how you can use the library. And in between the starting, middle, and ending phrases, we also have these two phrases that are represented by the green notes, and this will allow you to quickly end a combination of phrases, and they do their purpose really well, I believe. Now, on the right side of the keyboard, on the higher notes, we have the notes that will allow you to switch, as I've already showed you previously, between the themes that you've selected in the menu. Last but not least, we also have an effects page with some stuff that you'd already expect in a library of this type, such as AQ, delay. We also have convolution reverb, with five presets that sound really cool, have been made just for this library, and that they fit the beautiful voice of the singer really nicely. And down here we have an effect that's a bit more special. It creates this mystical and immersive atmosphere. I think it sounds really cool. I'm not currently using it because it didn't fit this track in particular, but I'm sure many of you will find a very good use for it. Now, let's check out how I use the library for this demo in particular. I've really tried to show the versatility of the lyrical vocal phrases by using different phrase types, but I also didn't want to use too many of them because it would end up sounding a bit confusing, and I wanted to be able to create a cohesive and an immersive atmosphere for this track. So I ended up using five different phrase themes, which I think is already a very reasonable number. So I started out with this very basic four chords progression played by Sardino strings. There is nothing too special about it, just just a very standard four chords progression, and then I added this really subtle and ethereal sound that has a really cool dreamy feel to it. And I thought it would help in creating the immersive atmosphere that I wanted for this track right from the beginning, and right below we have this we have some high percussion which I have high pitched, almost an octave above, because I wanted it to sort of blend with the sound above, and it was just not making as it was. It sounded like this. Not very good. So after adding the pitch shifting and also a bit of reverb, extra reverb, because I also have this this my standard reverbs which I use on pretty much everything, and together they sound like this. And I think these two sounds blend really nicely. Now back to the real deal, which is of course the lyrical vocal phrases. I started out by using one of these spoken themes, which sounds like this right out of the box.
Venno via veghe, a sola scemba amica, taria la voi da veglia. then veri avu.
And it sounds pretty cool, but I I wanted the phrases to sound a bit more like whispers because I was looking for a more mysterious sound, and what I basically did is I started by removing the low and mid frequencies in order to get this really thin sound. And then I added, after the delay, of course, an extra reverb, 100% on, so that it would sound really distant and dreamy and actually a bit creepy as well. Which I think it introduces the track in a really cool and different way. Right after the spoken words, I went on to introduce the first melodic phrases of the track, which are actually from the very first phrase theme available in the library. And my idea with these phrases, as with the first ethnic minor phrases that I used, was to showcase the core sound of the instrument, so that you could get how good the out-of-the-box sound of library really is. Let me just turn off the delay, which is actually quite a bit. So the only extra thing that you hear in the track is just the delay and my standard reverbs, which I use on pretty much everything, as I've already said. Not to change the sound of the track itself, but to sort of help the tracks fit better with each other in the mix. Then we move on to the next section of the track, which introduces the ethnic minor phrases, which I really love. we also introduced some other instruments like this really cool rhythmic synth. I think it sounds really cool, and it really gives the track a bit of energy that I think it really needs at the beginning of this new section. And we also have this harp-like sound, which originally sounded like this. But it just it wasn't doing the job, so I decided to add some delay and a panning effect in order to kind of like follow the rhythm of the low synth, and made it sound like this. It already sounds much better, and together with the low synth, you get this sound. Works really nicely, I think. And of course, we have the kick and the snare. The kick is actually from a free pack by the Cymatics. If you're not aware of their work yet, check them out as well because they make awesome stuff, and some of them actually available completely for free. So it's definitely worth checking out. And the snare, I haven't processed it as much as you probably think I did. It already had a really cool sound right out of the box. It's very aggressive. So I just added some delay yet again to follow the rhythm of the synth, and then I cut the low frequencies off and a bit of the mid frequencies as well, because it to make it sound a bit less heavy and to make it fit a bit better in the mix. In this section of the track, we can also hear a heavily tweaked version of the lyrical vocal phrases, ethnic minor themes. It actually sounds a bit like a kind of a small female choir singing in the background with a tremolo effect. And this is a really different sound from the original one. I achieved this firstly by adding a doubler effect using this plugin. And of course I added some delay because it was meant to sort of like an atmospheric sound, and the atmospheric sound that could carry on throughout the track. And as I did with the spoken phrases, I removed the low and mid frequencies to create sort of a very ethereal and thin sound. Yet again, and lastly, I also used a tremolo effect in order to create sort of a pulse that to make the track feel a bit more dynamic and interesting. Here in the middle, I have also introduced a violin, which I've split it into two different tracks because I was not getting the sound I wanted from the original violin, and I thought it would be cool to pitch shift it one octave above, and I got this sound. And that sounds cool, but I thought that the sound was just so thin that then I came up with the idea of creating another track with the same violin, but this time pitch shifted an octave below, and I got this sound. And the idea of this second violin was to mix it with a higher pitch violin in order to give it a bit more body and presence, and I think it does the job quite well. So together they sound like this. It fits well in the mix, and it does the job that it's supposed to do really nicely. In the last part of the track, I thought it would be cool to switch from minor to major, and I ended up going with the Lydian mode because it has this spacey and serene sound, and since it is the last part of the track, I wanted it to sound kind of like if it was just about to wake up from a dream, like a departure from a mystical and otherworldly place, and I found that this theme was just perfect for that. And I also cut a bit of a lot of the low frequencies of, because I wanted it to the voice to sound a bit lighter to fit this particular mood that I wanted to achieve. Truly, truly beautiful phrases, beautifully performed and beautifully recorded. It's just it's a wonderful library. All right, so that was my walkthrough for Sonuscore's lyrical vocal phrases. I've had a lot of fun with this library. It's definitely top quality stuff. I'll be using it in the future for sure. And if you're looking for a library of this style, I definitely recommend you to check it out. If you want to stay tuned for more library demos and for more cinematic music, please feel free to click on the subscribe button. And thanks a lot for watching. See you soon.